This is Legal Angle with Emmanuel the Law Holowale. Thank you for joining us today. I have with me today a special guest. He is the face of wrongful conviction, he is the face of wrongful incarceration, and is also the face of Black Lives Matter. This is a man that spent 20 years in jail, in prison for a crime he did not commit. His name is Laurese Glover. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Glover.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Can you please tell the audience who you are?
I'm Laurese Glover. I have recently served 20 years in prison for a murder I didn't commit, along with two of my closest friends. Uh, it happened to us when we was just teenagers. We were just kids, 16, 17 years old. And we held on to our innocence and we fought hard for 20 years till we actually became free in 2015.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay. Now, can you take us back to that day in February 10, 1995? What was on your mind on that day? What was your plan?
We were just normal teenagers. I had just got a Chevy Blazer truck, so I was excited about that. And we was out joyriding. At that age, when you're a teenager, you really don't have no cares in the world for real because you're basically a child. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to worry about bills and all them kind of things. So we were just regular teenagers out, just enjoying the day out. Well, the car wasn't new, but it was new to us. It was a it was a 1979 Blazer, but to be in a car, we got some wheels, so we were just happy, out enjoying life. And
Hmm.
split second, everything just went bad.
Hmm.
Never in a million years would thought you just witnessing something that you could actually go to prison for.
Hmm. And what was your home life like in 1995?
I grew up in a single family household, so I had just me and I had five sisters that I grew up in the house with. I was the second oldest. It's like most of my siblings, like under me, the closest one was 5 years, and then the other ones after that was younger. And I got a sister that's 2 years older than me. So yeah, like I said, I grew up in a single family household, but we didn't have much. But back then, as long as you had that family structure, and you had each other, like that meant a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We always had what we needed, so that was the most important thing about it.
Hmm. And you had your friends.
Yeah, my friends. Like I grew up with all sisters in my household, so like they was like my brothers, So with that, like even being in the house with all the girls, I knew once I came out, like I still had them because they was like my brothers.
Hmm. Were you in high school at the time?
Yes.
And you and your friends, do you all go to the same school?
Yeah. We all went to Shaw.
Okay, so you were joyriding with your friend on that day, with you're celebrating your new car, and
Yeah.
then what happened?
Well, it was coming down the street in East Cleveland, and it actually was on the next street to where my other two friends stayed at. Eugene and Derek stayed on the street called Ardenal. So Strathmore was the next street. And when we came down the street, it was like we stopped at the stop sign, and it was like this confrontation between two males. And the one started running, and then the other one, he pulled out a gun, he started shooting. And then when that happened, and like once the gunshots started coming up, ringing off, like, I sped off. I turned the corner fast, I almost struck a car. I know bullets don't got no names on it, so we were just trying to get out of there. And later on that night, me and Derek got arrested together. I was dropping him off at home, and we had got arrested. And they took us to the police station. So we was in the police station for like hours. I didn't know they was up there questioning Derek at the time. So I think I sat downstairs maybe probably like 2 hours, but it seemed like way longer than what it was. And detectives brought me upstairs, They was questioning me, asking me where I was at 5:50 p.m. And I didn't even have a clue like where I was at 5:50. I never knew that was took place at 5:50, and I couldn't remember where I was at the time. No, I was say I was at home, and after they kept asking me over and over, then it just clicked in my head like maybe they talked about what we saw earlier. So I told them exactly what I just told you, like what we happened when we came down the street, what we saw. And he was saying my friend Derek told him something different. And like they just questioned me for like hours before my mom finally got there. Then once my mom got there, they told me and my mom, they told me we can go in the room and talk first. So we went in the room. My mother was like, "What's going on? Like, what you do?" And me and my mother always had a close relationship when I was growing up. So I told my mother, like, if I done anything, like you'd have been the first person I told. And wasn't nothing else to talk about. We went back out there. They questioned me again. And then I remember when it ended, they asked my mom, like, is there anything she want to say to me before she go? And I'm thinking, like, before she go, like, when she leave, I'm leaving. Like, I didn't do anything. And they was like, well, no, you got to go downtown. I couldn't believe it. Like, we sat in the police station the rest of the night to the morning. And then the next morning, like, they transferred us to the detention center. And, like, I think that's when it started, like, really sinking in. Like, once we get booked into a detention center, like, I had no understanding of that situation, like, none.
Wow. And you were only 16.
16.
Did they get your mom's consent before they started questioning you?
No, they actually questioned me for like a couple hours before my mom even got there, which was crazy. But and that's so crazy because like when I seen that movie, when they see us, and a lot of people be saying like, well, they was questioning them young boys like they should never even talk to the police, like this, that, and the other. But we don't have anything to hide, and they was kids just like we was, but you never expect in a million years something like that to happen to you. Like when you a kid, like you look at the police like they supposed to protect and serve. Like you never think about nothing about no crooked cops or nothing like that when you were a kid. Like in that era, I know it was probably going on, but it was like you didn't hear about it as much as you would hear about it now. So to go in there, like we didn't have anything to hide, so why not talk to them? Like, and we provided them with what we could provide them with, because I mean we didn't see neither one of the guys' face. Like if they showed us the pictures, like we wouldn't know what they looked like. It was a cold February day, like it was a lot of snow outside, and people have on their hoods and their hats and different things like that. But like never in a million years that we think that what happened to us is gonna happen to us.
Wow. Did they even tell you that you have a right to an attorney?
I don't remember. It was so long ago. Like the way that went, like I can't even imagine that they even told us that, because they was questioning me before my mom even got there. And at that time, like back then, cell phones was like uncommon. Like only people with cell phones were like doctors and different people like that. So that night, like I knew my mother and a whole bunch of my family members and Derek family members had went to a cabaret party. So I don't even know how they got in contact with my mom to tell her I was there, or because like I said, I dropped Derek off, and that's when we got arrested. And yeah, we was in that station for hours and hours. And then so like on the flip side, like when I saw that movie, like I could understand like what they was going through, because they was in that interrogation room for hours on end, and just tell us what you want, we want to hear, like we let you go, like they was babies.
So when they came to get you and they took you down to the station, did you even understand the gravity of the situation? Or did you think, oh, well, no big deal. By tomorrow night, I'll be out?
Yeah. I honestly, like, because I didn't have my driver's license, I'm thinking, like, this is part of everything, you know what I'm saying, about this whole driver's license thing. But, like, I never, ever thought that was the reason. Like, and that's why I said, like, when I got to the police station, they asked me where I was at 5:50. Like, I don't know where I was at 5:50. I didn't keep contact of the time throughout the day. Like, I was just riding. And before that, we was at my house. And I don't know what they did before that, but majority of the day we was together.
So initially, when they came to get you, you thought they came to get you because you were driving without a driver's license. You
Right.
didn't realize they were coming to get you for a murder charge.
Right.
Interesting. Interesting. And do you even know who the victim was?
No, the victim, he wasn't even from Cleveland. He was from Elyria. So it was like this thing, like, we went to trial. They made it seem like we was like these thugs, and he was this hard working man, and he had just came from cashing his paycheck, and like we was robbing him, or like they would just try to come up with all different kind of motives, just making things up. But then as we went to trial, we later learned out that he had some crack coke. Well, it wasn't even crack cocaine. It was supposed to be crack cocaine, but it was fake. He had some of that in his pocket. And I mean, I don't know what he was caught up in. Like, I don't think he still deserved what happened to him, but like we later found out, like once we got our police reports that helped free us, like him and his brother had a lot going on, and the police had something that happened to his brother like weeks prior to him getting killed. His brother got shot at. So once his brother got killed, they brought him pictures like, you seen these guys before? He was like, no, I never saw them before. But all of that, they swept under the rug. Like we never knew about all them other things.
So when this happened to you, did you think, well, you're 16 years old, so, and your friends too, they were also teenagers. Did you think that, okay, let me trust the adults, they'll figure it out? Because obviously you have no power.
Right.
What was in your mind then? Was that your line of thought?
Yeah, it was like, because we started off in the detention center, and we went through that for like several months, and then they bond us over as adults. So going through something like that and you innocent, in my mind, I just kept thinking that each stage they was gonna figure it out. Like we went from juvenile to the adult court. So I'm like, okay, we got a better chance in adult court because, if we got to go to trial, we got a jury and no jury's gonna convict us. Like we innocent, so that didn't work. Then we got convicted and went to prison. So we kept the mindset of, okay, on appeal, they're gonna fix it on appeal. Like they're gonna get it right sooner or later. And 1 year turned into 5, and 5 turned into 10, and I mean it just kept going on. So then it started I'd be a lie if I told you that, sometimes I question God along that journey, like, why me? Why this happening to me? But I don't know, it seemed like every time that something happened along that journey, it's like somebody always came into my life and like picked me back up and put that sense of hope back into me. If it was like a family member or a friend, or sometimes like I just get a letter from Eugene or Derek, and it just be like just some words of encouragement to lift me back up, and it's just like just what you needed at the time. But it's like it's always happened when you feel like you at your lowest point during that time. Like it's like somebody just reached out to you and just help that light back up to make you keep fighting.
I can only imagine that. You probably would have thought that, why did God allow this to happen to you? Because your life was just getting started.
Right. And in the midst of the trial, the prosecutor, they came to me with a deal telling me if I testify on my friend Eugene, like they'll let me go home. I just say he done it, we'll let you go home today. And like not once did I ever think like, okay, maybe I should just do this to save myself. Like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't send my friend to jail for something he didn't do. Not only would that have been wrong, but like my conscience it would have had the best of me. Like I couldn't do it. And they came several times with that deal. Like, and they came to my friend Derek, like telling him to say my friend Eugene did it. Like they give him probation and give him 6 months and let him go. But not once did we even consider that, like, the innocent. Like that made no sense. And they just recently did a Blind Injustice opera, and it was an opera about 6 Ohio Innocence Project cases of people that they freed, and our case was one of them. And after one of the shows, one of the people in the audience, they had heard about that, and they asked my friend Eugene, like, how did you feel, when you heard that they was coming to them with deals to testify on you? And throughout that time, like, I never thought of it from his aspect of how he might have been feeling about it. Like, I just was so upset that they kept coming to me, wanted me to say he done something he didn't do. That made me think that like the lawyers that we had like didn't believe in us. And when they asked him that question, that's when the light came on in my head. Like, I never thought about how he felt about it, but his answer was not once that I think they was gonna do that to me, because these my friends. Like, we didn't do anything. But I had never thought about it from his aspect. Like, I was just so upset that they kept coming to me with that, wanted me to just say he done it just to, just so they can get a conviction. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, they were just looking for somebody to lock up so that it would seem as if the crime had been solved.
Yeah.
Wow. Did they offer you any other deal apart from, testifying against your friend to set you free?
No, just that one.
Wow. And you turned it down. Wow. How did you feel after you got convicted and they gave you 15 years to life? What was that like?
Like, I don't know. It's like throughout that whole time, like, it just be feeling like it's just a nightmare that you just can't wake up from. And like I say, like, my sense of hope was like, we innocent. So, they got to figure it out sooner or later. And like each appeal, I just believed in my mind, like, they're gonna get it right on this one. They're gonna get it right on this one. I never thought we was gonna even get convicted, let alone to have to fight that long for that many years. So,
So it wasn't something you were prepared for. So during the trial, you thought the jury would figure it out. They would figure out, well, I was innocent, and then we'll be sent home.
Yeah. And, that's the mindset we had. We kids, so we not really knowing no better. But, we went through different things with our jury as well. One time they told the judge that somebody from one of our families or something spoke to them in the cafeteria. We was on break during the trial. So the judge said, if we ever out somewhere and we see the jury, we need to leave. And then they said something about at the court one day, somebody had waved at them as they was walking by. It just kept being like crazy stuff. And at one point they said they feared for their life. So our lawyers, hey, they had to declare for a mistrial. If the jury feared for their life, we didn't stand a chance. And the judge shot it down. He shot it down. And I mean, he was so, I don't know what he had against us, because like after we got convicted, he said on the anniversary of the day that Clifton Hudson, which was the victim, on the anniversary of his death, that he ordered that we go to solitary confinement every year on that date so we could think about what we done. And if he could give us more time, he would.
Yeah. Wow. What was it like the first day of, I know, what was it like the first day of prison? Knowing that now I'm a convicted felon. Now I have to spend the next 15 years or maybe the rest of my life in jail. What was it like?
I mean, jail was like, I don't know, it's like you just threw into a situation where you gotta figure it out. You gotta figure it out. You gotta grow up. You gotta man up, and you just gotta figure it out. Ain't no rule book to how you supposed to go about your day. You gotta figure it out. So I don't know, like going in, like when I first got there, it was these Muslim guys in there, like, so they was asking me like, you want to be a Muslim, like they'll help protect you and this, that, and the other. But I just couldn't see just join a religion group just for some protection. Like, I didn't even know nothing about the whole Islam nation or anything like that. So I didn't do that. And then it's mandatory when you first get there, they ask you, do you want to go into protective custody because you're a juvenile? So I didn't do that because, I mean, it's bad enough being in prison, let alone for something you ain't do, but to be in protective custody, like, you really locked away from everybody. So that wasn't an option for me either. Like, I just had to figure it out. But for prison to be prison, it's supposed to be a place where a whole bunch of bad people at and this, that, and the other. There's actually still some good people that's in prison. They might have made a mistake, or some people was in there for some things that they didn't do. But it's like people that was in there for some years that taught us a lot of stuff when we was coming in. So it's just a matter of you taking advice from the people that give you some good advice and some people that give you some bad advice. But overall, like, you just got to figure it out as you go, and it depends on like the kind of things you into. Like if you into the gambling and all them different kind of things, then it's gonna be a little rough for you in there because all of that lead to problems. So yeah, we just had to figure it out. Like I said, like, there wasn't no rule book to how you survive in prison. You just got to figure it out.
Yeah. Were you all sent to the same prison, or were you all sent to separate prisons?
Starting off, yeah, our first 5.5 years we was in the same prison, and then a couple years after that we ended up in the same prison again for a couple more years. Then after that, like, I might have been in the prison with Eugene, or Eugene and Derek might have been in the same prison, but we were never all in the same prison again after that second stint that we was in there. It was like one time, like, me and Derek was cellmates before, and then another time Eugene and Derek were cellmates.
During those times, did you all get together to still talk about the events of that evening? Protesting your innocence. Do you all talk? Did you used to talk about it to other prisoners?
Yeah, because in prison, like, especially when you be in certain places for so long, and you meet people, and sometimes them people become like your family. You've been in them prisons for so long, so yeah, I done talked about it to a couple different people before. Because it's actually like once you're in the county jail, everybody in the county jail be saying they're innocent, or nobody didn't do what they in there for. I'm in here for some BS and all of that different stuff. But then once you leave there and get convicted and go to prison, the people that's actually innocent still claim their innocence, and the people that's guilty, like, you start to understand, or they start telling the story of what they actually done. So, like, yeah, I done shared my story with a few different guys in there over the years because I went to so many different prisons. I got cool with so many different people. Like I said, like, them people become like your family. You're around them every day in, day out. So, but we used to get together. We used to talk about what happened that night and what we needed to do to, try to figure out something else to help free us. And, we used to reminisce about the past because that's all we already had to hold on to was our past. So then we used to reminisce about different things we done when we was on the streets. And, outside of that, that was probably like it, because it was like hard for you can't really prepare for what you plan to do when you're going to get out, or because you don't know when you're going to get out. So it was more or less of trying to figure out what we can do to try to help get our freedom, and, or reminiscing about, the good days we had when we was free.
Yeah. When you started the appeal process, do you have the hope that the Court of Appeals will get it right?
Yeah, that was like one of the main things that I was holding on to, like, in the beginning. I just figured, like, each stage, like, they was gonna get it right. 8th District Court of Appeals, they'd get it right. They didn't get it right. Supreme Court got to get it right. And we went all the way to federal court. Nobody got it right. Like, once, and we kept filing for a public records request from East Cleveland for years. And sometimes they didn't send anything, or sometimes they sent 7 pages or 10 pages. And it was different attorneys like y'all got a murder case and y'all went to trial, like, and there's no way that a police report should be this small. So once we got the Ohio Innocence Project on board, I think we got them in 2006. At that time, we had 10 years in. And ever since they was on the case, they kept sending public records requests to East Cleveland. East Cleveland never sent them back anything. And then one day we had the head attorney on our case was Carrie Wood, and she set up a conference call, to let us know that she was leaving OIP to go work for the public defender's office. So she's like, I made another public request to East Cleveland to send us the police report. So see what happened. Then that last one that they sent, I don't know who received it in East Cleveland, but they sent it. And the police report was 70 pages long. And before that, they wasn't giving us nothing. And when they do, it was somewhere between 7 and 10 pages. So they was keeping a whole additional 60 pages from us. And once we got that police report, we was free 7 months later. 7 months later.
Because the report indicated that they've been hiding all those evidence that could have set you free years
ago. And they had, I think the number one thing that stood out, well, it was several things, but so when we get the police report, the top page of the police report was a letter from the prosecutor's office. And it was dated from 1998 to East Cleveland. And it told them that, we done heard that you guys are about to release these police reports to these guys, and you order not to. And if you do so, you could be prosecuted. You order to send everything you got pertaining to this case to our office. If not, you're going to get prosecuted. So I don't know what they sent to the prosecutor's office, but apparently they had one copy left because we eventually got it in 2014. But, all this could have been resolved years ago. And it was like a guy in there, he was like 10 or 11 years old. And, the police had talked to him. And in his statement, he told them, though, that he seen the shooter before. And he think it's a girl in his class brother. And they never followed up on that lead. Never.
Wow. And all the witnesses too that were favorable to you, they hid all those witnesses. So your attorneys never even knew that those witnesses existed.
Right.
Wow. So the police were willing to do the right thing as of 1998, but the prosecutor made sure that those evidence and documents never got out.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I think that's one of the blows that hurt it the most because, prosecutors got immunity. So it really was nothing that could be done to them about what they did to us. So for that to be that was the top page of this police report, that letter that they sent them in 1998. And it was okay, you still could have got a conviction because you could have probably solved the case for real and put the real perpetrator in jail. And you ain't follow that. You was just so focused on sending 3 innocent young black men from the ghetto to prison. And I think they probably thought we could probably get this off on them. Ain't nothing gonna happen. They ain't gonna fight, and luckily enough that we had family that, stood by us and helped us fight for all of them years. We probably went to court several times, and every time we went back to court, we had so many family members, so many people from the community there, to support us. And I don't think they ever thought that was gonna happen. Like I say, we was 3 young black men from the ghetto, and I think they thought they could just sweep this one under the rug and, nothing would happen from it. But yeah, we fought hard.
Yeah. What was it like to spend 20 years behind bars, knowing that you were innocent? What was that experience like?
I think that make it that much more, it make it that much more difficult for you because, if you go to prison for something you've done and you get 15 years to life, I mean, of course you don't want to be in prison, but then at the same time, okay, I did this for whatever reason, or I made this mistake, so I'm paying for that mistake that I made. But to go for nothing, that was one of the hardest things to ever deal with. And it was when I went in so young, it was they say the age that you go in prison, that's the age you come out, because you hold on to your youth. You don't want to grow old in that place. And, me just being in that situation, I just feel I haven't even had a chance to live life yet. It was so many, I haven't done anything. I was too young. And I just couldn't see, just giving up and just letting it go like that. So I it's like you walk around that place and you have this mask on, and like you just try to hide all the emotions and all the different feelings that you got going on inside, and not let the other people see it. Because it's like, I don't know what, when you in prison, it's like to show emotion is like a sign of weakness in prison.
Mhm.
So you gotta hold on. You gotta always be strong and tough, and you know what I'm saying. And it's like you just have on a mask for so many years. It's can you just imagine that you out here just living this normal life, and then you get put into an abnormal situation where now this is your normal, and that's not a normal way of life. The stuff that goes on in there, but after so many years, that become your normal. So you adjusted to that, and then to get free and have to adjust back to normal, like that's just it's a crazy transition to make.
That's a lot of trauma because when you went in, you were a boy. So you grew up in there as a man. So how do you learn to grow from a boy to a man in prison? How do you do that? Who did you look up to?
Well, it was like the first place that I went, like I was in Madison, so I was in the juvenile dorm. So everybody in there was juveniles, but once we came out of the dorm, we interacted with all grown people. So it was guys that was in there for like probably had life bits at that time, but they had been in prison for like 2, 3, 4 years before we actually got there. And it was a lot of guys like that we met during our early on that taught us the different things to do and not to do, and not to get caught up with this crowd or that crowd. And once you learn that early on, like you just take it with you throughout that journey, through all the different places that you've been to, just not to try to get caught up with the wrong people. But like that's prison still. So things are gonna happen like that. It's gonna be fights, it's gonna be stealing, it's gonna be a whole bunch of different things. It's prison, but you just gotta adapt. You gotta adapt, adjust, and deal with it the best way you can.
Did you believe that you would be released at some point, even as the years become, months become 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? What made you hold on to that hope that you will eventually get out?
I think my main thing was, like I said, like I'm innocent and I ain't really lived life yet. But at the same time, like I refuse to just lay down and just let them win. I Not with my life at stake, so I just had to keep fighting. I had no other choice. So like I say, I would be a lie if I tell you like that it wasn't times that I questioned God, because it was. And like one of the hardest things I had to deal with throughout that, like each time that I went up for parole, like when you go up for parole, they want you to take responsibility for your actions. So that's you going there and admitting guilt. And I wouldn't do that. So I went to the parole board after 11 years. They gave me 5 more years. Then I did the 5 more years. I went back up. They gave me 4 more years. So on that second hearing, I told the lady, it was like 5 people on the panel. And I told the lady at that time I had 16 years in. And I said, man, like I would not be coming in here telling you that I didn't do it if I done it. Like I got 16 years in, like I wouldn't do that. And she told me, she said, I got people that come in here after 30 years and still say they didn't do it. So I knew I couldn't win in that argument with her. So, I let it go. And they told me to step out probably for every bit about 2 minutes and call me back in there and told me they're going to give me 48 more months and told me to come back after that. And the crazy part is I was due to go up 6 months. We got out in March. I was supposed to go up in September 2015. But I know how that would have went as well, because I wouldn't go in there and say what they wanted me to say. And then the crazy part is, say this one day I was just like, okay, I'm just telling whatever they want to hear. It still ain't no guarantee I would have got a parole. So I held on to my integrity, my dignity. Like I was never about to go in there and admit to something I didn't do. I just couldn't do it.
Even isn't the process itself of you going in there, um, they trying to force you to admit to what you didn't do? Isn't the process itself torture, at least to you?
Yeah. because like, can you just imagine, like, you know you're innocent and you going in there, and just because you won't say what they want you to say, they just keep giving you more time, and like that's a whole new sentence. I bring you 11 years and you give me 5 more years. And then I bring you 5 more years, you give me 4 more years. Like,
And it's also still possible that you go up there after 15 or 16 years and they might tell you that, well, you've been holding on to innocence for 17 years. What took you so long? So we'll probably give you 5 more years.
right.
So you can't win either way. No matter what you did, you couldn't win.
Right. It's a lose-lose situation. And that used to hurt the most, like, because that was something like when I first went up, like being in prison, I seen so many different people go up. So I started to realize like how that whole parole board situation worked. So I used to try to prepare my family for that. And my family like, no, you thinking negative and you've been being good, so they're gonna let you come home. And I'm like, no, it don't work like that. I'm witnessing firsthand these people going up for parole and the time that they passing out to these people that's model inmates, never had a conduct report or different things like that. And they still pass out that time. So when I first went up the first time and I got that 5 years and I called home and tell my family, like they is devastated. They crying, they like, and then that almost broke me down, like to hear them like that, So when I went up my second time, they gave me the 4 years. Like I wrote home and told my family, like I had to write them, tell them what happened and let them sit on it for a while before I called, because I couldn't call to hear them break down like that, because that was gonna break me down. Like, and it's crazy that I either try to be strong because I didn't want my family to break, So, and that's crazy because you would think it'd be the other way around, like you in prison for something you didn't do, but like I couldn't, like, to call home and hear my family like devastated like that and in tears, like that would have broke me down. So yeah, I even have to be strong for my family.
That's deep. You have to be strong for people who are outside. Wow. What gave you that hope that one day I'm going to get out of here? What was that anchor? What did you hold on to? Was it faith? Was it God? Was it just your innocence? What was it?
All of the above. Like I just couldn't see me doing the rest of my life in prison and dying in prison for something I didn't do. Like I was gonna fight that till I wasn't here to fight no more. And I truly believe like it's people that's went to prison for something they ain't do and didn't make it out. Though whether they was on death row or they died during the fight from natural causes or whatever it may be, I believe that there's people in there that, don't make it out. Like we was luckily enough, like we just had an exonerated Ohio Innocence Project is free after 45 years. He got out, he's 82 years old. And then he get out to when this whole coronavirus thing going on. So he had to go to a hotel and quarantine for a couple weeks. But he 82 years old, 45 years.
Wow. So you always believed that you wouldn't die in prison. That was what kept you going.
I refused to let that happen. Like, we fought a hard fight. And it came a time one day, I remember being on a call with the Ohio Innocence Project and our head attorney at the time, Brian Howell. He said, we need some new evidence. Without no new evidence, like I don't really know nothing else we can file. We filed everything. And it was like a couple months later, he was like, we finally got this police report. I'm gonna send it to you. Just let me know what's in there that y'all didn't know about during trial. And when I got that police report, I knew, I felt it that nightmare was about to be over. It was too much in there, like too much evidence that pointed somewhere else, and that they hear from us. I knew it, and like I say, like once we got that police report, 7 months later, we was free.
You felt it within you. You knew that this is it.
I knew it. I knew it, and it's crazy because we had a hearing. And we went back for that hearing in January 29th of 2015. And then after the hearing, we went back to the institutions we was at. The judge sent out a memo saying like that she was going to bring us back for her decision. the judge never bring us back for no decision. Like everything that we ever filed and we got turned down on, it came in the mail. So for that to happen, like I already felt that it was over with that. We got that police report, and like that was the longest 7 months of my life. Like that little whole filing different paperworks and briefs and all that stuff to lead up to them dates. But I knew that was it. And we got back March 26th. We came back to court, and she opened up with Bible verse Luke 8:17, and it was for nothing is hidden. It was for nothing is hidden that will not become evident, or anything secret that not would be known and come to light. And when she said that, like we just looked at each other, and my friend Derek, like just one tear just dropped. Like we knew, she was about to let us come home. And the courtroom just, man, it was 3 families because it's 3 of us, but it was so many people in that courtroom. And I respect our judge so much because the judge that sentenced us, like that year he didn't even get reelected. So he was not even on the bench no more after he convicted us. And Judge Nancy Russo took his place. And like she was so supportive of us. Like she knew of all the people that been after all them different court hearings. Like she had them bring more chairs in the courtroom so they could fit as many people as they can in there. And I just respect her so much for that because I've been to 4 or 5 different exonerees getting out after me, and the judges on all the cases that I done been to, they never done anything like that. Like whoever can fit in the back, and that's it. Like don't let nobody else in here. They be like, oh, it's bad. Like so, I respected her a lot for that. And even when we went to the 8th District Court, when they was trying to like get our conviction. They were trying to get it overturned and send us back. We went to the 8th District Court of Appeals. And when they seen how many people was there with us, they moved from the courtroom they was in to a bigger courtroom upstairs. They life at stake. Like they family need to be in here to hear this. And I respected that so much because I saw so many different people later on that didn't get that. Like they never opened up their courtrooms like that for the people to get in. Like they don't even want to see you. They feel like you slip through the system because when you actually get exonerated and prove that you're innocent, they think you got away with something. Like that makes no sense. The court people and the witnesses that came to committed perjury and the prosecutors that hid evidence, the detectives that hid evidence, like you the one that got away with something. Like you know that a person is innocent and you do all this stuff to try to get a conviction. It's like, how do you even go home and sleep at night? Like, I don't understand that. Like, people just don't got a conscience.
It's true. It's an uphill battle when you post conviction motions are uphill battles. So you mean after you got exonerated by Judge Russo, they appealed that ruling?
Yeah. Well, she granted our new trial. She granted a new trial. So they was appealing that. They didn't send them back. Like they didn't want us free. And that was the scariest thing because we never ever won in 8th District Court. Everything we filed, we never won. We never won anything in that court. So that was kind of scary because we was free and we knew we was gonna have this court hearing coming up in 8th District. And it's up to these 3 judges of what they gonna do. And it was when we went in there, like it was 2 women and it was 2 women and it was 1 man. And like the man, he was saying something about the gunshot residue, which turned out to be junk science. But the 2 lady judges was like, well, what about this Brady claim? Like, they were held exculpatory evidence from them. You can't just disregard that. Like, I don't care what else you're talking about. You can't just sweep that under the rug like it never happened. So it turned out good. God was with us. And they say God ain't gonna never put too much on you that you can't handle.
If you're listening to this, you're wondering what it means by the Brady violations. Brady is a case that stipulates that when you are going through a criminal case, all the evidence that the police has, that the prosecutor has, they have to turn everything over to defense counsels so that they will be able to, fully defend the defendant, even if those evidence will set the defendant free. So in this situation, they didn't do that. They eat all this evidence, knowing that should those evidence have come to trial, you wouldn't have been convicted in the first place. So when you went up to that Court of Appeals, that's what those judges brought up, that the Brady violation supersedes any other claim that they could have. But what bothers me is this: even in spite of everything that was in that letter, showing that they hid all this evidence, and eventually you found a judge that was willing to look at that and set you free after 20 years. They still appealed it to a higher court to keep you locked up, even after you've been free.
Yep.
How do people rationalize that? Is that justice, or is that just getting a conviction or getting people locked up? It doesn't make sense. So how did you get the Innocence Project involved in your cases?
Well, first, my friend Eugene, he had wrote them, and I don't know who had told him about it, but at the time he already had an attorney working on the case on his behalf that took the case pro bono. So they was like, you already got an attorney, so that's what he told me about it. So I wrote in, and you have to send them the facts about your case, and they look it over, and if they feel you innocent, they'll take on the case. So I wrote them, and they already knew about the case, so I still sent them everything, and they believed that he was innocent. And then my friend Derek wrote them, so they took the case on me and his behalf, and then Eugene had his own counsel, so they used to be working together, which was great. We needed all the eyes and ears we can get, and to put them on board to try to help get us free. And it worked out, but it still took a whole another 9 years, after we got Ohio Innocence Project. And it was something else that happened back in 2003. The state's only witness, Tamika Harris, that testified against us, she came back and recanted. And so my friend Eugene, the lawyer he had, he started following the different motions for a new trial, and the judge granted it, let him out on bond. He was out on bond for like 9 months, and they appealed the judge's decision, and the 8th District Court reversed it and sent him back. And like at that time, like me and Derek was fighting so hard to get out when Eugene was out. But after everything was all said and done, like I was happy that I didn't get out for them 9 months. Like that would have messed my mental up, to let me out, to give me a taste of freedom for 9 months after being in prison for 9 years, and then just throw me back in there. Yeah, that would have messed my mental up. It's like you already have a hard enough time trying to keep your composure and try to stay sane when you in there for all of those years fighting and you innocent. But to let me out for 9 months after 9 years and then throw me back in there, I can't even imagine putting myself through that kind of torture.
Yeah, that's torture. So even after he got out for 9 months, they appealed the decision and sent him back.
Yep.
Even after the main witness recanted her testimony,
Yep.
in spite of all that.
She was the state's only witness.
So you had to get the smoking gun, which is the police report and the full investigative file, which they've been hiding for years.
Wow. I don't even know. Say East Cleveland would have sent the prosecutor's office everything that they had and didn't keep what they sent us, I probably wouldn't be right here right now having this interview with you. Like that's literally what freed us. And luckily, whoever got that last public request records must didn't know what was going on, because they sent it, and it was a blessing. It's a blessing.
So knowing that you could have been set free all the way back in 1998, because if you look at the records, that's what that says. In 1998, that's when the county prosecutor told the police not to release any of your records.
Yep.
And knowing that you were innocent and finding that out 15, 16, 17 years later, how does that make you feel? Knowing that the evidence that could have set you free was out there and someone was sitting on it.
Yeah, that was a hard pill to swallow because like you miss out on so many different things. We lost so many different people throughout that journey. Like my friend Derek, like he grew up in a house with his mom and his dad. He lost them both though while
Mm,
fighting that fight. But if they would have just did the right thing back then, them years he could have still had with his mom and his dad. Like that's I don't know, it's a hard pill to swallow. And like after going through all of that, everybody always be like, well, you guys don't even seem like you bitter, like you just. But at the end of the day, like once you get your freedom back and you get out here and you're trying to adjust to this free world and to this new normal, it's like if you hold on to all the people that betrayed you and all the people that did you wrong throughout that fight, how would you ever find happiness or a sense of peace? Because all your emotions and stuff is going to be triggered toward the people that did you wrong. You just wasting all of that good energy on nothing. So it's something that you got to just try to put it in the past, which that's hard to do, but you can't just hold on to all of those people that did what they done to you because you would never be able to find that sense of peace or happiness.
yeah.
What you fought so hard to get. That was
Mm.
the whole point of the fight, to get that sense of your freedom and peace and happiness and just live a regular life. Like so
Before all this happened, before you were ever arrested, before you were sent to jail, before you were sent to prison, what dream did you have?
like back then, being a teenager, like it just changed so much. Like, one year you think you gonna be some type of athlete, then the next year you be like, nah, I ain't doing this, I'm gonna do this. Like, I don't know. Like I just knew like I always wanted to do something to where like I would have been my own boss at it. Like so I was looking to be some type of entrepreneur, like because at first like we was heavy in the sports. We used to play different streets in football and different streets in basketball and different things like that. But then like I sidetracked from that. Like I didn't want to do that no more. Like I don't even know what it is that I really was gonna end up wanting to do or wanting to be, and I didn't get the opportunity. Like
Mm.
it got snatched. So that whole thing just went to the back of your head. Like you wasn't thinking nothing to that nature. You thinking how I'm gonna stay free, and after conviction, how I'm gonna get free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You went in when you were 16, you came out when you were 36. How were you able to adjust to life outside? You went in as a boy, came out as a man.
Yeah, and I'm still adjusting. I'm still adjusting to that. So it's like every day, like if you like hopefully I can learn something new because I'm always open to learning new things. But it's still a task today,
Yeah.
and um, it's crazy that now you got to adjust to living a normal life. Like it's normal, but after you live in that abnormal situation for so long and get out here, now you got to adjust to normal, and like it's like stuff on the outside world changed in 6 months. So 20 years, like I don't even know if I would ever get caught up with this technology. Like it's too much.
It's a lot. I can only imagine. Yeah, you lost 20 years of your life. And during that 20 years, I can only imagine what it felt like. And you knew that you couldn't have spent all those 20 years if some people didn't hide the evidence or want to keep you in there. You know, well, if that were to be me, I don't, you know, if it were to be me, I don't think I'll be able to forgive the people who did that easily because I look at your age, you and I were about the same age. During that 20 years, I was able to go to college. I was able to go to law school. I was able to become an attorney. I was able to start a family. You were not able to do that. And you knew that some people intentionally did that. Normally, when things like that happens to people like you, people will ask you, "Oh, did you forgive or whatnot?" Knowing me, I know I wouldn't be easily to forgive them. But what they don't ask is the question of the perpetrators that, are you sorry you did this? Or are you remorseful? Nobody ever asked them that. So I
Right.
think it's unfair to ask people like you, do you forgive or how do you feel? So my question to you is, how have you been able to handle all that emotion and where are you at now?
I think for me, it's more. I think I was real mad at like Tamika Harris early on. Like I was 16, she was 14. As I got older though, I realized like she was 14 years old. And they was going to get this girl every day, bringing her up there, question her, and sometimes she got a guardian with her, which waiting outside for her, or sometimes she don't. But I can't even imagine that kind of pressure they putting on her. And like her first statement to the police is, I can't identify the shooter. I didn't see his face clear enough. So why did you keep going to get her every day? You know, that it was someone right about that. And as I got older, like I realized that like look at they was putting pressure on me, telling me to testify on my friend, and they gonna let me go. So just imagine she's 14 and she's a female. I can't even imagine the pressure they was putting on her. And as she got older, like she realized, what was going on. And she tried to correct it. So I took my hat to her because she didn't even have to do that. She could have just went upon living her life however she wanted to live it. But as far as like with the prosecutor, like Carmen Marino, and he was the one behind the letter, and like to find out he was behind so many different other cases of putting innocent men behind bars. Like before we actually went to, before we actually had our civil hearing against them, like I was watching TV and it was like a Dateline show or something. I heard him say Carmen Marino, and I was locked in, like, because I knew he was behind that letter to East Cleveland, but I never could put a face on it. And then I saw him, and I don't even know how I felt at that moment. Like, I just wanted to put a face behind this person that was just so against us, getting our freedom back. And then to go to trial against them in civil court, and then to see him down there. And from what I was hearing, like, he was like living in like Florida or somewhere now. Like, I feel like when a person is that vindictive and can cause that much harm to so many different people and so many different families, like they need to go to prison. You broke the law. You went outside of your job description to keep innocent people locked up. You deserve to go to prison. He shouldn't have no pension, no none of that. Like, and they don't hold them people responsible though. Like
Yeah.
it's just like nothing in them. And then like forced to be fighting for compensation. Like they, man, they fighting us down to acting like the money about to come out their account. Like when you just took 20 years of my life
Mhm.
and you don't even want to do nothing about it. Like they just put you out here, like kick you out of the prison. Okay, you free now. Figure it out.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. They robbed you of your dream. They robbed you of your future. They robbed you of everything. And how were you able to transform this tragedy, this negative experience, to something positive? Because right now I know you go around inspiring other people. How were you able to make that transition?
I think for me, this is like, this is therapeutical for me. Like I feel like me going to do this, like a lot of people, like I don't even know how you just keep living that nightmare over, telling the story. But it's my way of turning a negative into a positive. Like, because I wouldn't want to see this happen to my worst enemy. Like nobody deserves to go to prison for one day for something you didn't do, let alone a year or 5 years or 10 years or however long. But like that's why I do this now. Like, and my friend Derek, like growing up, like I always was shy. Like I would never. He called me one day. He was like, "When did you start talking this much?" I'm like, "What you mean?" He was like, "Because when we grew up, like you would never. I could never see you speaking in front of a crowd of people." He was like, "And now you just everywhere with it." But I'm trying to keep this movement strong. Like, because like I said, before it happened to me, I didn't know nothing about wrongful convictions. Like I didn't even know this kind of thing was happening. But now it done happened to me, so I'm trying to do what I can to contribute to the cause to I know we ain't gonna never have a perfect system, but we can do a whole lot better than what we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's like the main reason. Like I go to high schools and junior high schools and colleges because they the next up. They the next police, prosecutors, and judges. So if I could reach one of them to let them know in whatever field you decide to take, just have an open mind with it. Like, the head of the Innocence Project, Mark Gosti, he used to be a prosecutor. And he was saying how, he used to have just tunnel vision. Like you get one little lead about something, oh yeah, this person guilty. Like you don't care about nothing else that come out, and it took him to get on the other side. Like he's been on both sides. So he know how it is. So yeah, this anytime that I can do this, it's like an honor to me to do this. Like, cause I feel like I'm giving back to not only an organization that helped free me, but so many others. And, I just, hopefully we can get this judicial system better. I know it ain't gonna be perfect, but it has to get better.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for coming on to Legal Angle with Emmanuel De La Halawale to share your story. Your story has been very compelling, inspiring, and very encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Anytime, just give me a call.
Thank you. I sure will. For those of you watching, if you want to support the Ohio Innocence Project, you can call them at 513-556-6781 or go to their website. It's on the screen. This is it for this episode on Legal Angle with Emmanuel De La Halawale. We hope to be back next week with another edition. Thank you so much for joining us.